Welcome back to ARC Salt Lake here at 7:30, where we cover authentic, relevant, and community stories. Well, this morning, we are diving into what is needed to succeed in today's workplace.
Ever evolving, right? Well, we have award-winning business professor and author Scott Hammond joining us live to give us some insight. Your latest book is called Highly Reliable Teams, and we like to talk about being a team player. What would you say is the key skill someone should have to be successful in their job?
Well, I really wish somebody would have told me this earlier in my life, but it's collaboration. The ability to collaborate and build something with others. As you guys put together a great show every morning, you sometimes have that show that just hits it, knocks the ball out of the park, and you really have it takes more than one person. It takes others to do that, and a single person can't pull it off. Everything's too complex these days. You need to collaborate.
Yeah, so what is collaboration then? What are the skills you need to put that together?
The first thing you need, teams work together. We learn to compete with each other in school. We learn individual skills. Kids are going back to school right now, and they've got I'm going to get an A in this class idea. But what we don't teach them how to do is to build something together. And anything important these days that we have to build together. And so the first thing you have to do is identify why you're doing something, a unifying purpose, something that brings you together, brings people together. And you can be mediocre technically, but if you can build that coalition of people who bring their ideas and bring their hearts to a table to build a great show or to do something good every day, that's when you start winning.
Well, you talked about competing, and you compete on the individual skills, but as a teammate, you don't want to beat your teammate. You want to help your teammate win, right?
Yeah, and that's where the second item comes in, that ability to communicate and figure out what they want, what they call victory, what their idea of good is, and to gradually over time build that as a common thing, and then learn together. Most good teams are always learning together. They spend a percentage. Actually, there are people who measure this in business schools like mine, and years ago it was kind of 5, 6, 7% of your time. Now it's 20, 30% of your work is really learning together to be better together.
So where did this idea of highly reliable teams come from?
Well, I began working in search and rescue. Later in my life, I started working with Utah County Sheriff's Search and Rescue. And, I've been in a lot of workplaces and had a few different jobs and thought I knew how to get along with people. And then when you start building a rope system to go over a cliff with others, you have to learn collaboration. You have to learn to trust. You have to learn to put your life in the hands of others. And since then, I've studied and looked at lots of search and rescue, critical situations in hospitals as teams work together with patients, on the mountain with search and rescue and disaster relief, where you cannot afford to fail, where failure's not an option, flight cockpit crews, and studied those and looked at how they work together to build these collaborative skills.
Very interesting. Okay, and you have some news background too, TV news background. What can we do to be more resilient?
Oh, first of all, I think you guys do a great job. I worked at Channel 2 way back, before the dinosaurs, about when the dinosaurs kind of went extinct. But yeah, great creative groups who make movies together, who make news together, who do it right, day in and day out, build a bond. And you probably know this. I have this in search and rescue where my brothers and sisters really in search and rescue were really close. Or the people I worked together in news years ago, we were really close. We were good friends because we learned those skills. And one of the skills that I think is the single most important thing these days is the ability to reduce the stress of others, to be calm, to overcome their stresses for them and watch out for each other. And that's incredibly important as PTSD and other things creep into the workplace.
Okay, now as a leader or as a teammate, what can you do? What's the main thing you can do to create a reliable team? What's the first step?
Well, the first step would be to build that unifying purpose, to say, why are we doing this together? And that's an ongoing conversation. That's not a one-time thing. That's something that, you guys probably do this in your debrief after the show every day, right? You kind of get around, there might be some coffee or beverages in the room, and you say, what went right, what went wrong, how can we do it better? And do what is called an after-action review. Where you learn, you take every time you perform, there's a learning event right after that says, how could we make it better? We actually have some new research this year that shows that those after-action reviews reduce the stress in the workplace. So that overall, if you keep doing that and keep figuring those things out, people come to work and they're less stressed, they know what to do, and that bond that I'm talking about gets stronger.
Yeah, I think we've definitely seen that.
And it's not blaming someone for what went wrong. It's saying, hey, how can we make this better?
Oh, you're right on, Mary. Blame is toxic, and it's never a blame game. Even when something really goes wrong in a rope system in search and rescue, it's everybody's fault, and it's everybody's problem to solve.
Okay, you have a business school at Utah State. Are more and more people going to like the master's program? A lot of people are, I guess, going to like trade schools and things like that. But as far as an advance in education, how important is that?
We're really lucky at Utah State because, first of all, we have a great MBA program that's reasonably priced, and our attendance is going up. And most MBA programs, attendance is generally going down. People are getting a lot more on-the-job training and learning those skills, those critical skills on the job. But we've found a really good formula to be able to get career professionals in and accelerate their careers. And so that's kind of our mission, and it hit the sweet spot in the marketplace. And so we're really lucky that way. And enrollment in business schools is, at least in our business school, is up significantly because of that.
Okay, teaching people to get along and succeed. Thanks so much, award-winning business professor and author Scott Hammond and former KUTV Channel 2 employee.
That's right. And
Hey, thank you so much.
we promise, because of this interview, we'll be more resilient in what we do.
I'll come monitor you. I'll check you out.
Okay, we'd love it.
There'll be a quiz.
Okay,
right.
Scott, thanks so much.
Great talking
Take
with
care.
you. All right.